And I will say this. I saw on social media somebody post, give me a screenshot of your best group text for what happened during Rory's victory. I think it was Claire Rogers, who covers the game very well. I think she's the one that put it out there. And I thought to myself, well, I'm on very few group texts. And the group text that I'm on did get sent. Someone sent something. And it was Jason Stewart. Jason Stewart on our Doug Gottlieb Show group text sent something out. And then someone else texted me, and it was Kerry Rhodes. And I've got golf buddies back home, people I play golf with, had no communication with them whatsoever. Even my wife at one point texted me at noon. I didn't see the phone. I called her back, talked to her. But after that, it was basically because she was with Brody over at my father-in-law's place. So I had the place to myself. It was all Masters for 5 hours yesterday.
I was about to say.
And the two people that I heard from were Jason and Kerry. So I appreciate it in engaging in the conversation. I don't know how you were able to do it, but did you, because you were on the air at the time yesterday, did you get a sense of like what was happening? Are you able to get that sense? Because I don't have any fingernails today. It's the greatest event that I think. When you look at what happened with the Masters yesterday, how do you consume it when you're doing a live broadcast? Did you take everything in what was a magical moment in sports?
Well, the thing is, I couldn't take everything in, right? I'm not an avid golf fan, golf supporter. I do occasionally watch and take part in the festivities, right? But actually having Chris Perfett here, and, he was kind of taking your spot for me, Dan. He was giving me the updates of what was going on, the historic nature of the things that were happening. And that was all fine and dandy. It was just so much going on with basketball that I was engulfed in that. But the moment when he bogeyed, he missed a shot on 18. Well, he didn't bogey. He just missed a shot on 18 to win it. I loved that part of it because as an athlete, as somebody that doesn't like to consume the easy things or take the easy way out, I like to have to fight for every victory that I have. That's just part of my makeup. So to see that he didn't get it done on 18 and had to go into the playoff with all the weight of everything else that was happening with him and has happened to him for a long time, to actually have to come back and do it again in that next round to win it was just historic for me. I felt all of it. I felt that.
And I felt that it was a moment that transcended many. I know, Chris, you've got a background in golf. Your dad, lover of the sport as well. And you were number one Rory fan yesterday.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I think Kerry learned a lot from just watching my reactions every time Rory was on the green. It was
and I feel that a lot of people felt that way. Jason Stewart did not. Jason Stewart, our executive producer, was on the other side of things, which put him against Rory McIlroy. Is that fair to say, Jason?
I kind of root for collapses. In my job, the most interesting part of sports, I think, is when you see an athlete failing when it counts most. To me, that's the most riveting part of sports, is seeing when the lights are brightest how people react. And I was rooting for the best content, which is he loses another Masters on the back nine. So I was the one guy rooting against him.
My goodness, Jay Steele.
There are people who felt if Rory would have lost yesterday that he would never win another major.
I had that inkling in my mind as well. I actually asked Chris. I said, "Is this his best chance to get it done?" And blah blah blah.
And it could go that way. Well, again, to steal from Jason Tatum, who stole from who did he steal? I always forget, but
Kevin Garnett.
I guess we'll never know. We'll never know if Rory McIlroy wouldn't have won again because he did win the Masters.
Yeah.
It was an amazing day, and I feel safe in saying, I know Chris loves the sport. It's not a ranking of whatever, but I do feel that this is my deal, that this is something that I look forward to. In fact, today is a sad day that it's over, that now I have to wait, 358 more days for the Masters to come around again. For as great as yesterday is, there's now this, and I love the other majors and love what happens in the game of golf, and football season occupies so much of our time in the fall, but there's something about the second week in April that is just, it's everything for me. And yesterday was everything with all of the history that went down.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized in looking at this that it transpired into a point of when we look back at the Masters, there are certain events that you look back at and will always stand the test of time. It could be championships from certain years with certain teams, but I think in the Masters, 1986 with Jack Nicklaus in my lifetime, in 1997 with Tiger Woods, him winning his first, were the two Masters events. There have been other great Masters, but those are the ones that almost transcend everyone else because of the meaning. Jack capping off his career with his 18th major, doing it in his 40s in come from behind fashion. Tiger then winning in 1997, doing it at Augusta with the history that they had, and just becoming arguably the biggest star in all of sports, all sports included, 100%. Tiger Woods at one point. Mm-hmm. And to do it in record-setting fashion in his early 20s, and then to set the stage for what golf is now. Those are two tentpoles. I don't think that this will pass 1997. I think it will rival Jack Nicklaus's 86, but this generation and now this era, for the first time in almost 30 years, has their Masters that they can point to. In 2019, we thought was going to be the Tiger one as well, which I think is still up there. But I think for how it went through, what Rory McIlroy did, what Rory McIlroy will mean to what is a younger generation, I think you could put that up there in top 3, top 4 Masters. Some people were saying yesterday was the greatest day in golf that they had ever seen. That's how big yesterday was at Augusta National.
Yeah, I mean, that's the part where, again, you as a golf enthusiast, a purist, someone like you said, this is your moment. This was your segment. We were talking about you yesterday while it was going on. Like, we know how important it is to you. What about it? I mean, what about the game or about that Masters, that tournament, that Grand Slam in general, when it comes to the pinnacle of golf for you? Why is it such a big deal for you?
Because you go to the same spot every year. Mm-hmm. It truly is. I watched Mr. Rogers when I was a kid. Okay, I love Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, a lot of people did.
I did.
Yeah.
Make Believe was a place that I wanted to go. Now, I didn't realize that it was just on a set.
On a set somewhere?
Yeah, one spot over. I felt it was like this magical place. And realizing that when you get older, okay, it's not it. It's just – and I went – by the way, I saw some of Mr. Rogers' set in Pittsburgh at a museum, and it brought me to tears because it brought me those memories. Mm-hmm. When you're stepping on site at Augusta National, it is a feeling like any other. And I always say when you go to Augusta, it's worth every penny because if you love it as much as I think most people do, there's just nothing else like it, and there isn't. Everything is perfect in a way, and it's just it's an escape from reality in a way, not in a vacation-wise, but it's a magical place.
That is a magical place. Keep it going. Turn it up a little bit.
Why don't you be my neighbor?
Go ahead, Dan. Finish.
They have no neighbors because they bought all the land for parking at the Masters. That is true. But that's the feeling is it's just so magical. And all of the holes that are played, history is behind it. U.S. Open goes to different spots, and this year it'll be at Oakmont in just outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. And when it goes to Pebble Beach, you go to the 17th hole and you remember Tom Watson's chip in from the early 80s, and you remember those, but they don't go to you're at the U.S. Open. It's not at Pebble Beach every year. So it's not the same setup. At Augusta, it is. So all of these monumental shots, and what I thought was great was on 15, Rory hit 2 majestic second shots on the par 5, and they looked exactly like Tiger hit in 2019 when he hit the same shot. So you can connect with history, everything being perfect, everything being out of place, and it's just there, and it's difficult, and it's easy, and it's fun, and it's gut-wrenching. All of it is just it's just so real. It's such an extreme stress on your senses in a good way that I just love it, and there's just something special about it because there's no place like it. Rory even said before this Masters that this is the only tournament that he still gets nervous for when he tees off. So imagine his nerves when he's teeing off now for the final round, trying to win the career Grand Slam, which shows why he double bogeyed the first hole. Like, it is a real thing, and it's special to so many.
It's crazy. It's hearing you say that, I see your eyes twinkle a little bit, and that's always the sign of exactly what you just spoke. But then you have the haters out there like Jay Stu who want to see this guy fail, I really want to know why outside of this being a big moment of him being able to triumph and actually bring favor back, even after failing, why did you want to see that happen, Jay Stu?
I wanted to see prolonged agony. I wanted him to have to answer another year of questions. I like people looking uncomfortable and being uncomfortable. It goes against I think the athlete mentality, but when you've been doing what I've been doing for the longest time, and I skew negative, as Dan has said, I skew negative, and I find these stories most intriguing to follow, to play sound bites of. And so at the end, I admit it. I sound like a bad guy, but I admit it. I was hoping for him to lose.
And I think that there's something interesting. I know Chris wants to jump in, but I do want to say something on the heels of that. I don't think he skews negative. I think he skews radio producer. And so what's the better story? But I'll say this. When the Red Sox won in 2004, that story disappeared from our lives. It had consumed so many people, and it consumed all of Boston. All of a sudden you win, and you come back the next year, and that's disappeared. So Rory coming on the start of his press conference saying, I wonder what you guys will talk about next year, is a true thing. There is very likely going to be a letdown next year because of what happened this year. So in Jason's point about that, it's like sorry, Chris, but not wanting the Lions to go to a Super Bowl or not having the Bills win a Super Bowl. There is something about keeping those storylines going because each year you have hope and it brings it up. I didn't mean to transition to you that way, Chris, because I know you wanted to talk about something else, but I think those things are real.
I do think that's interesting because I know for me as a person, I kind of root for, I really get kind of exhausted sometimes about always that the old thing is always better than the new thing. And I think for Rory, and I'm not going to say he's Tiger Woods by a long shot, but I feel like Rory always encapsulated this golfer of the millennial age who performed so well in his 20s, who captured three majors, actually 4 majors in, what was it, like
3 years?
3 years. Like, and that was the buzz. And for 11 long years, it was always, when's he going to get the Masters? Not just the Masters, when's he going to get another major? Mm-hmm. And for me, that I think a lot of people just found that very relatable in the Sisyphean nature of it, where you keep pushing this boulder up the hill again and again, failing again and again. And look, Augusta's a cruel mistress. You watched that one shot, I think it was on hole 11, where DeChambeau also challenged, and that was where DeChambeau went in the water hazard, and he, ends up losing this chance to chase Rory. And Rory's ball was 6 inches away from doing the same thing too. It's just the risks of that course. But I really do think I like seeing when a guy like that, I'm not saying he's going to be Tiger Woods, but we're going to be talking about Rory as one of the greats now because he has played that well. And it's just been these weird hiccups and mental failures and all these. I think, Kerry, we talked about it, about whether or not he had this reputation as choking. Yeah. And I always just hate that because you see the greatness there, but the final product doesn't always come out the way you want it to see it rewarded. I had a lot of people who were watching golf for the first time that day, or really watching golf for the first time seriously, and they loved it. And everyone I talked to immediately could buy into the struggle Rory had gone through for 11 years to get to this moment and to finally have it rewarded.
I do think that choking is a real thing. I think that choking is not responding to what you did. And what I think that Rory what did is every time he responded, and in a way it was a vicious cycle. I wrote this down. If you'll bear with me, because I spent about 15 minutes just trying to piece this all together last night, and I hope I can make this concise. Rory mentioned that he wanted to, or this had been hanging over him since 2011. That's when he lost the Masters with a 4-stroke lead entering the final round, and it all came undone on the 10th hole. So on 10, he hits a drive that's perfect and kind of exercises that demon, because the last time he was in that similar position, he put one left of left. It was so far left. There were cabins that you had never seen on a broadcast before, that he's standing next to one of them where his golf ball was. Yeah. You had never seen that before. So he goes and he birdies 10. And I have to think that in his mind, he's like, I made it through. Mm-hmm. You have 8 other holes to play.
Yeah.
And the old saying is the Masters doesn't start until the back 9 on Sunday. So I'm going to make this quick. To Chris's point on 11, he hits a second shot from kind of the trees to pitch out. Well, his pitch almost goes into the water. It's probably about a foot from going into the pond, which would have been devastating. He ends up bogeying the hole, only drops a shot. On 12, lands it safely on the green, misses the birdie putt, and leaves with a par. 12th hole had been killer for a lot of people. Jordan Spieth put it in the water at 12. Francesco Molinari put it in the water in 12 in 2019. That's the place where dreams have gone to die at Augusta. So 13's the easy part, right? That's just lay up. Well, he misses his chip on 13, puts it in the water, and then double bogeys on a hole where at worst you're thinking par. You're not even thinking bogey. At worst you're thinking par. You don't drop a shot. He gives back 2. On 14, he hits it in the woods and then ends up bogeying the hole on 14. And now he steps to the 15th tee, and he's in a 3-way tie for the lead. And he's actually in second place for a moment because Justin Rose was at 11 under par at that point. So then what does he do on 15? So now he's at his low. 15, he hits the shot of his life again on top of the hill, and he has an eagle putt. So what does he do with his eagle putt? Is completely tentative, has no chance of getting into the hole because I don't want to mess this up. So he makes birdie, hits a great shot on 16, misses the putt, goes to par, finds out I'm a shot back of the lead because Justin Rose just ended up birdieing, or I'm tied for the lead because Justin Rose birdied 18, ends up making a great shot on 17 because he needs it at that time after the low point of finding out, hey, I need to make birdie. And then on 18, when he has a one-shot lead, puts it in the sand and needs to chip out and misses the putt. So all of that was in conjunction. High point, low point. I need to respond. Do it with a high point. Mm-hmm. I'm comfortable. Let's drop to a low point. That was the entire afternoon. It was a vicious cycle for 4.5 hours with Rory. And somehow, because of his game and how strong it was, he came out on top and was able to birdie the first playoff hole 18. Heck, he started the day with a double bogey, and he admitted that was probably the best thing for him because I think it would have built up. You would have had this false sense of confidence. It was a wake-up, but it was an entire roller coaster. There was no point, Kerry, where it was flatlined yesterday with Rory McIlroy. There was not. I've gone through the round in my head. At no point did you say you put it on cruise control. You thought maybe on 13, then he hit that chip in the water, and it was chaos after that.
Yeah, it's crazy. I want to know, so when the playoff comes into play, why do they only play 18 and 10? Why is that?
So they used to start at 10 and go to 11. Now they do it because it's easier with the crowds. So, and they're both par 4s, but they're right next to each other. It used to be you would start, this is 20 years ago, and when you look in the past, you would start the playoff at 10, you'd go to 11. Greg Norman had his heart broken on 11. Larry Mize chipped in on 11. You don't usually make it that you wouldn't make it that far. Now they just go 10 and 18 back and forth, I believe. We haven't had a 3-hole playoff at Augusta, but they go to 18 because you have thousands of spectators around that hole already.
Got it.
So if you're going to go play a playoff hole, then it's easier to move people. If you saw on the broadcast, I don't know if you guys saw this, but they alluded to it. When they went to a playoff, fans started to line up at the 10th hole because there's no bleachers around 18. You can only see as high as the ground is. You're not putting anybody on your shoulders, so you can't really see. So there were fans who were like, well, I'm going to line up at 10 in case this is a second hole playoff.
Yeah.
And then I'll have a perfect spot for it on the 10th hole. And there have been other Masters. Adam Scott won his Masters on the 10th hole in a playoff. Angel Cabrera won his on 10. Bubba Watson had that crazy wedge from the woods. That was on 10 as well. So there have been great moments there. But, yeah, that's why they start in 18 and then just go to 10 because they're right next to each other and you have the crowd. Crowd doesn't have to run everywhere. Everybody's kind of in place.
Got it. Yeah, no, I mean, beautifully encapsulated, Dan. I think like I said, just my takeaway from it all was just that, because I think what Jason just said was on par, right? Since we're in our golf phase.
I love it.
As an athlete, we like to see the triumph, right? We don't want to see anybody fail. We fail. We know what that feels like. And so, like you said, the ups and downs of just that day yesterday, right? Not even the 11 years that has been agonizing them for a long time, but just yesterday, the ups and downs of what it took.
Yes.
Falling back into a 3-way, 2-way tie when it's real game pressure on again. And then you get to that last hole, you have a chance to exercise the demon, so to speak, and then you miss it, and then you have the gall through all these years and all this time and all this hardship to actually come back and get it done in the playoff. That's movie stuff.
Yes. Jason Stewart.
Real fast, Kerry, the crazy thing is that in 5 or even 10 years, when you're hosting a show with Dan and you talk about the 2025 Masters, he's going to be able to recite for you what he just did. That back nine on Sunday for Rory, shot for shot. He's going to be able to look you in the eye, no notes, and tell you play by play what happened. That's Dan Beyer.
Jason, I can do the same thing with a Christmas story, so try me.
He can.